parfait. Très bien, on va commencer. Tout d'abord, moi, au nom de notre organisation, Alliance Internationale pour les Droits de l'Homme et le Développement, ainsi que le Centre de Genève pour la Démocratie et le Développement, je souhaite vous remercier pour votre présence. Un grand merci également à M. Guy Mettan, donc directeur du Club suisse de la presse, pour sa collaboration. En tant que membre actif de la société civile, nous avons estimé la nécessité d'organiser un tel événement important dans le but de mettre à jour la réalité des faits avec l'intervention de nos distingués panélistes. Donc merci beaucoup d'avoir accepté notre invitation et d'être présent aujourd'hui. Avant de donner pour commencer la parole au président de notre association, on va d'abord diffuser un film qui présente les faits de 15 juillet 2016. Est-ce que tu me permets? Okay. Est-ce que vous avez le film? Enfin, c'est plutôt ici. Ok.
Yat!
Bu çılgınlığı yapanlar, bu kanunsuz eylemin içerisinde olanlar da en ağır şekilde bedelini ödeyecek. Vatandaşımın bunu bilmesini istiyorum. Asla.
Sevgili seyirciler, bu metnin tüm Türkiye Cumhuriyeti kanallarında yayınlanması Türk Silahlı Kuvvetleri'nin bir isteğidir ve emridir.
Milletin üzerine gelmenin bedelini bunlar çok ağır ödeyeceklerdir. Milletimizi, illerimizin meydanlarına davet ediyorum, havalimanlarına davet ediyorum.
Milletin huzurunda, milletin yargısında hesap vereceklerdir. Bomba da atsanız buradayız. Ne yaparsanız yapın, buradayız.
Bombalandık ve işte o görüntü. İnanılır gibi değil.
Bu millet en güzel cevabı demokrasiye sahip çıkmakla vermektedir.
Onlarımız arkadan bağlandı.
Bu vatana ihanet hareketinin bedelini de tabii çok ağır ödeyecekler.
demokrasi tarihinde milli iradeye karşı yapılmış en büyük darbe girişimidir. Başka darbe girişimlerinden en önemli farkı da vatandaşın bu darbe girişimine karşı darbe girişimi.
Bu ülkede devlete darbe yapanlar bunun bedelini ödemek zorundadır. Bunlar haşiye. Tahşiye örgütüdür. Ama bu tahşiye örgütü de artık son çırpınışlarını yaşıyor. Tek bayrak, tek vatan, tek devlet anlayışından bizlere ait olacak. Bir olacağız, biri olacağız, biri olacağız, kardeş olacağız, hep birlikte Türkiye olacağız.
Anadolu agency avec qui on collabore.
Pratiquement par le peuple égyptien et nommer un gouvernement au nom, je cite, de, entre les guillemets, démocratie, l'unité du pays et contre le terrorisme. À l'évidence, il y a des ressemblances avec le coup d'État égyptien aujourd'hui. Qu'est devenu l'Égypte et que serait devenue la Turquie si ce coup d'État avait été un succès? Je m'interroge. Aujourd'hui, on s'interroge grandement par rapport à la position de l'Égypte dans le monde. L'Alliance, donc notre organisation, dénonce toute forme de complicité avec le coup d'État en Turquie et appelle au respect du choix des peuples par les urnes. Il ressort aussi que le peuple turc a démontré par son opposition au coup d'État que son système démocratique est une valeur sûre. Il a démontré également que l'époque où les coups d'État militaires pouvant balayer la volonté populaire était révolue au Proche-Orient. Ce qui s'est passé le 15 juillet dernier dépasse donc largement les frontières du pays. Nous rappelons que la Turquie est le seul État stable dans la région, avec plus de 3 millions de réfugiés, dont la plupart sont syriens. Nous rappelons également que 4 pays voisins ayant la frontière avec la Turquie, donc frontières communes, sont dans un état de guerre ou d'instabilité, notamment l'Irak, la Syrie, l'Ukraine et la Géorgie. Nous demandons donc aux pouvoirs politiques suisses et aux instances internationales de comprendre les enjeux humanitaires de la région. L'expérience turque nous apprend donc qu'un peuple a réussi à contrer un coup d'État venant non seulement d'une partie de l'armée, mais aussi des médias, des hauts fonctionnaires qui ont été par la suite arrêtés. Nous demandons le respect de l'état de droit et invitons les autorités turques à être en conformité avec les valeurs des droits de l'homme. Donc l'Alliance internationale pour les droits de l'homme et le développement, en collaboration avec l'agence Anadolu, a le plaisir donc de vous inviter à cette conférence de presse et au vernissage qui va suivre à la place des Nations à 15 h par une exposition de photographie. Donc, et nous vous invitons tous à y participer dans quelques minutes. Merci beaucoup.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Sans attendre, je passe la parole à son Excellence, Monsieur Mehmet Ferdan Çarıkçı, qui est ambassadeur de la mission permanente de la République de Turquie auprès des Nations Unies et des autres institutions internationales. Vous avez la parole, Son Excellence.
Thank you very much. Distinguished members of the press corps, dear participants. It is a great honor and privilege for me to address this press conference on the exhibition jointly organized by Anadolu Agency and the International Alliance for Human Rights and Development. I would like to extend our sincere thanks to the organizers for this important event, which will take place at the heart of International Geneva. On the night of 15 July, the Turkish democracy faced an unprecedented challenge. Treasonous coup plotters hiding in the military, linked to the Fethullahist or Gülenist terror organization, which we name as FETÖ, attempted to overthrow the democratically elected government and the constitutional order. They massacred civilians who bravely stood against them, killing 241 democracy martyrs. May their souls rest in peace. Unfortunately, most international media outlets have reported these events in a rather inaccurate perception, failing to see the magnitude and the severity of the bloody coup attempt, omitting a facts-based approach, and paying little attention to background information behind this heinous plot. Starting from today on the Place des Nations, striking images of 15 July and its aftermath will tell you the genuine story of this tragic episode. You will also witness the courageous action by the people of Turkey from all walks of life, immediately rising up against this dirty plot, confirming its stance as the savior of the Turkish democracy. Think about it for a moment yourselves. Can you ever imagine something like this happening in your own country? No state would accept civil servants in the military, or the police, or in the judiciary, taking orders from anywhere other than the state. All in all, it was a shocking experience for our people, and a very difficult episode to grasp for others abroad without having felt the atmosphere. Now, thanks to the exhibition, a broader public will have the chance to better understand what happened on the 15th of July. Distinguished participants, taking this opportunity, let me briefly summarize the background of this plot, which will provide an insight beyond the images of the exhibition and of the film. Turkey has been informing friends, partners, and allies for long about Gülenist organization, FETÖ, and his ominous aims as manifested on 15th of July. Despite all counter efforts, his followers have clandestinely infiltrated into state organs throughout decades, with an additional presence in the private sector and the media. And they attack the media, as you saw also there. FETÖ is a sui generis criminal organization, concealment being its key principle. FETÖ members are ordered to disguise their affiliation and to operate in seemingly legitimate social services-related undertakings. The clandestine side of FETÖ was organized in disparate, small, and perplexing cells, especially in the army, judiciary, and the police. Over the years, Gülen and his followers gained access to vast financial resources and human capital. According to indictments, such wealth and influence have not been accumulated through legal conduct of business. It involved money laundering, bribing, and operations through shady firms' holdings. This sinister network is then used, first through covert, then recently overt action, to advance its anti-secular and hidden agenda and to take over the Turkish state. In this context, to protect its public order, security, and democracy, the declaration of a state of emergency was deemed necessary as of 21st of July. Naturally, this has been done as prescribed by our constitution and the relevant laws, and in full observance of international obligations. It serves to act in the speediest and most effective manner in the fight against FETÖ and to return to normalcy as soon as possible. The Turkish people want justice and closure, not revenge against the coup plotters of FETÖ. They want to see the principles of accountability and transparency in action as the foundations of good governance. Therefore, those measures are driven by a strict commitment to the principle of the supremacy of law. In this regard, Turkish leaders have repeatedly declared that proper evidence will be presented against those accused and that investigations are being conducted with caution. Turkey has now managed to endure a terrorist coup against its democracy through its unwavering commitment to the rule of law and human rights, contrary to certain allegations stemming from the defamation campaign of FETÖ followers abroad. It is our sincere hope that, thanks to this exhibition, the Geneva public will have a clear picture on the people's triumph on the 15th of July, further strengthening the Turkish democracy. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, His Excellency, for this intervention. Merci beaucoup, Son Excellence, pour votre intervention et de participation. On continue sans perdre de temps. Je donne tout de suite la parole à Son Excellence Volkan Karagöz, donc chargé d'affaires de l'ambassade de la République de la Turquie à Berne. Vous avez la parole, Son Excellence.
Merci beaucoup, Mr. Ambassadors, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's a distinct pleasure for me to be here today on the occasion of this conference, followed by the photo exhibition, both co-organized by Anadolu Agency and International Alliance for Human Rights and Development. And first of all, I want to thank all of those who have contributed to this significant work. I have prepared some talking points, but after the speech of Mr. Ambassador, there is not much left to say for me, so I want to keep it very short. On 15th of July, Turkish people displayed historic solidarity as they stood bravely in front of the tanks and reclaimed their democratic rights. The Turkish media, which Anadolu agency is also a part, played a key role in foiling the coup attempt. Foiling of this coup attempt by our people from all walks of life has been a milestone in Turkey's history of democracy. Turkey is now united in a spirit that has not been witnessed since the foundation of the Republic. This certainly was not a picture which the perpetrators of the failed coup attempt had expected. So, as I told you, I don't want to take up too much of your time because the photos that you are going to see reflecting the heroic struggle of the Turkish people for democracy will also speak for themselves. And I want to thank you once again for being here and for your attention.
Thank you very much, His Excellency. Merci beaucoup, Son Excellence. The next speaker is His Excellency Hüseyin Barbaros Dicle, donc consul général de la République de Turquie à Genève. Vous avez la parole, Son Excellence.
Merci beaucoup. Excellencies, distinguished members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to extend our gratitude to the International Alliance for Human Rights and Development and Anadolu Agency for organizing this conference and holding a photo exhibition just after this press conference. I would also like to express our thanks and appreciation to the local authorities and friends living in Geneva from all around the world who displayed their solidarity with our Consulate General and the Turkish community in Geneva since 15th of July and stood up with us in the defense of democracy. There are many lessons that we need to take from the coup attempt, but what is promising for future is the emerging societal and political consensus in the aftermath of the coup attempt to defend democracy, freedom, and the rule of law. A survey conducted by a respectable research company showed that 77.7% of Turkish people said FETÖ constitutes a threat to the present order and future of Turkey, so it needs to be tackled with. All segments of the society have been boldly demanding from the relevant authorities to take necessary measures against the coup plotters and FETÖ, which has infiltrated so widely into the state organs and in several other public and private companies, such as health, education, academia, media, and business. We need to remind that another historic and unprecedented milestone for Turkish democracy was 7 August rally in Istanbul, which gathered more than 3 million people from different political backgrounds. Why this rally is important? Because not only the president and the prime minister, not only the government, but the members of the main opposition, the leaders of the main opposition parties also attended this rally. And this rally demonstrated that not only the staunch and united position of Turkish people against the coup attempt, it also showed that the Turkish people and the mainstream political parties are united in the conviction that FETÖ was the culprit of this foiled, despicable attempt. This was not a picture which the perpetrators of the failed coup attempt had expected. So we are faced with an organization that has dared to attempt to take over the Turkish state by use of arms, an organization that doesn't hesitate using terrorist methods and killing people. Turkey is determined to take all necessary measures within the limits of the rule of law, respecting the fundamental rights and freedoms, in full observance of its international obligations to counter this terror organization and we urge our friends and allies to do their part in eliminating this international security threat, because nobody is immune from terrorist organizations' threat. This is a global threat. Thank you.
Thank you very much, His Excellency. The next speaker on my list is Mr. Yusuf Kaya.
Thank you very much. Dear Honorable Ambassador and guests, as we all know, on the night of 15 July, just Mr. Ambassador mentioned, Turkey experienced one of its most horrific nights in history. In particular, it was traumatic for the people who are still coming to terms with the shock of the events that unfolded on the traumatic night. A group of disguised military officers within Turkish armed forces who are members of FETÖ terror organization opened fire on civilians, bombed the Turkish parliament using state-owned F-16, and crushed people to death with tanks. This attempted coup was brought to a halt by the hundreds and thousands of people who flooded the streets in response to President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's message. What began as a nightmare ended in victory with the heroism of the Turks who sacrificed their own lives. The ordinary people of Turkey did not allow a group who wanted to take over the country. This night exceptionally harbors many heroic stories for journalists, because the Republic of Turkey in its 93-year lifespan has experienced 5 coups, and each one has taken the country 30 to 40 years back. Although 15 July ended with the victory for the people of Turkey, 241 civilians were martyred by the bullets fired by jets and the tanks. 1,500 people were injured. In light of these events, the people and the government of Turkey expected messages of support from the West. However, unfortunately, the attitude of Western leaders and the media was a huge disappointment. Instead of expressing condolences for the victims, they focused on the bruises on the faces of captured coup soldiers. Instead of praising the selfless act of lying in front of a tank to protect democracy, they chose to accuse Turkey of being a dictatorship. And instead of reporting on the heroism of ordinary citizens, they chose to defend the rights. They chose to defend the rights of coup plotters. As a matter of fact, some media outlets had the audacity to publish the location of President Erdogan's aircraft, after he had merrily escaped 3 helicopters and the professionally trained army officers. In other words, Western popular opinion, and in particular Western media, exerted a great effort to show solidarity with coup plotters and not democracy. This appalling attitude reminded many people of Mohamed Morsi, the democratically elected Egyptian president who was ousted by a military coup and who received no support from the West and was even punished. In the following 2 weeks of the attempted coup, the opinions and attitudes published in the media left us in awe. It was like the bombing of the parliament never happened. People were not crushed to death by tanks, and the president was not targeted by professionally trained soldiers. Perhaps this is the underlying purpose of today's presentation. Evidently, we must try and inform the West about the realities of this tragedy. Outside, in front of the United Nations, there is a display of photographs that Anadolu agency journalists have taken. As you will see in these photos, there are thousands of people showing extraordinary heroism in stopping the tanks. In some, civilians have rushed to the governmental offices even before the police. If you may recall, there was an anonymous activist in Tiananmen Square in 1989 who stopped 4 tanks. Similarly to this moment in history, Turkish activists displayed the same courage on the 15th of July. However, neither of them are anonymous. We know all the names of the martyrs who died under the tanks and thousands of other stories of heroism. I like to see my counterparts in the Western media took the time to travel to Turkey and report on the death events accurately. That night, AA journalists also risked their lives by going into the scene of the bloody coup to capture some of the most outstanding images. These images are also being displayed in Geneva, the capital city of the United Nations in Europe, and all around the world. I hope these images will shed light on the details that were overlooked. I would like to thank all those who were involved organizing this event, especially Fatih and Ender Bey. Thank you very much, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yusuf Kaya, for your intervention. My last speaker is Mr. Fatih Erel, representing Anadolu.
First of all, I would like to thank the ambassadors, Consul General, and the press for attending this important event for democracy and human rights. I would like to thank Mr. Demirtaş for his effort for organizing this press conference. During the next 3 days, including today, we will exhibit elected 30 photos from Anadolu Agency in front of United Nations in Geneva, behind the broken chair during UN Human Rights Council 33rd session. The timing and location were meaningful and important to tell the true story of July 15, 2016. And in order to see the true picture, Anadolu Agency's photos will show us how you cannot act against the will of people and how democracy still finds its way to function in an extraordinary situations. You will see the power of media, power of a single photo, power of a single impression, power of a single face, power of a single eye, with the need of no description, to tell the people what is wrong and what is right. We will not impose any ideology, as we will not try to convince you with something. We will show you the pictures that what a difficult situation Turkish people went through to improve its democracy. We are doing this exhibition during UN Human Rights Council because we believe that UN and other international actors were too slow to act against the coup attempt in Turkey. As UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, which actually deal with human rights situation in the world, could not condemn the coup attempt in Turkey in its written statement, which was issued 4 days after the coup. And I personally had to ask UN a question to have them condemn the coup attempt, as they did it orally following my question, which is still unacceptable. For this reason, we would like to show how UN Human Rights Organization actually committed a human rights violation for not clearly supporting democracy and being against the will of people. On the other hand, it's important to honor those who lost their lives and become martyrs or become veterans during the coup attempt against Turkish democracy. It's one of the goals of exhibition as well. Just a last reminder, after the press conference, we will walk to the exhibition area in front of UN. Hope you see you all there to witness the reality with your own eyes. Thank you for your participation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fatih Bey, for your intervention. Nous avons fini avec les interventions. Je tiens vraiment à remercier la mission permanente de la Turquie, le consulat général de la Turquie également, pour leur participation. Merci beaucoup à Anadolu Agency. Donc, comme nos collaborateurs vous l'ont très bien expliqué, nous avons une photo-exhibition sur la place des Nations qui nous attend d'ailleurs. Faute de temps, malheureusement, on ne va pas pouvoir prendre de questions, mais ces excellences seront présents sur la place des Nations. Si vous avez des questions, vous êtes les bienvenus et vous pouvez leur poser directement. Merci beaucoup pour votre participation. Merci.